forward, we're going to do just one or two announcements, and then we're going to have our Estacada team share their experience with their online work, and then Portland Open Bible. We'll let you all ask questions after each presentation, you know, kind of some basic questions, and we'll also then have time at the end to do questions, you know, as they come up again. So that's sort of our outline for today. And the big announcement, I don't know if folks have heard that the USDA has announced the Farm to Families program is officially ending at the end of May. So we have one more extension through May 31st, where we will continue to get the boxes. I believe as similar makeup, kind of same, you know, it will still be with Pacific Coast Fruit Company. No changes, I don't believe, in that sense, but officially done end of May. So wanted folks to know that. It's going to go in the newsletter on Monday, but that is coming. And so thinking about how you all are making your plans for summer, if you are using these quite frequently, that just know that that change is coming. We will continue to have our other food streams coming through. We have not yet heard back, if folks remember, with the FEMA purchasing, that we asked for a $6 million ask. We got half of that over 3 months, and we have gone back to the state and asked for the second half over the next 3 months, and we are still in a waiting pattern from them to hear whether or not that's coming through. We haven't heard anything that we think it's not. It's just taking time to work its way through. I believe it's going through the legislative system. So that should still be coming. So more, you know, continuing with anytime you see those FEMA foods on POL, that those are going to be available, but just haven't said one way or the other. Tabby, how will this change the food allocations team focus on acquiring food and having space for it? It'll definitely give us more space for more donations coming in, some that we may have had to divert or not accept. So those all go in our cooler. So definitely more cooler space available. We know summer is an increase in produce, especially local. You know, we get our cherries and our watermelon and all the awesome local produce. So I would say, you know, maybe going back to higher levels around produce. Christina, I'm putting you on the spot. Do you have any sense from ops about any other changes that, I know you're not in food sourcing, but anything to share that you've heard?
Not as right now, but there are things in the works.
Awesome. Yeah, I think just learned about it on Thursday. So, and great to know that I believe that it will be a continuation. So we're not going to have a gap at the end of April, you know, while we wait for everything to find out if it's happening in May, so that we shouldn't see a disruption in service like we have between other phases of Farm to Family. So definitely we'll keep talking about this and share updates as we know more, but that was a great question. Thanks, Tabby. And the quote here is just our announcement. I will link the Reuters article that was kind of where we learned about this, as well as the statement from Susanna in the newsletter on Monday. But that we're happy. We know this served a great purpose and fed a lot of people, and it sounds like the federal government's going to be focusing more on programs like SNAP. Locally, we can look at double up food bucks to get folks more connected to food in that sense. So, sorry, my window's open. But OFB folks, any other announcements we want to share here? Long pause. All right. I would love to introduce our team from Estacada. Deborah, I will let you take it away.
Thank you. I'm Deborah Buffton. I'm the director of the Estacada Area Food Bank, and joining me today is Mary Ann Bugney, who is a longtime pantry volunteer and also a member of our board. And she will be jumping in as well. So our online shopping program, as we had been participating prior to the pandemic in the OFB's open distribution pilot. So we had in that process just really seen the benefits to our client base on having free choice, and we were committed to it as we joined the Open Distribution Project, but even more committed to it as we moved in and saw the benefits that it fed to our customers. So when we started looking at the pandemic and what was happening, we had really probably in the 3 months prior to the pandemic hitting us, had finally gotten to 100% open choice, both in terms of numbers of visits coming into the pantry and also for customers to take what they wanted. So no limits on food, no limits on visits. So when the pandemic hit, we were really committed to trying to figure out how we might be able to maintain that choice, knowing that it was going to look different. So that was super, super important to us. Initially, before the quarantine hit, we met people at the door. We continued to have people come in and shop. We handed out gloves. We asked people to wear gloves if they were able to when they shopped, and we had hand sanitizer. You see that in many shopping situations around, even still today. And then the lockdown hit, where we really, our board, as well as with the guidance through Oregon Food Bank, we decided the best situation for us, given our pantry size, was that we began to serve people outside of our pantry space. And so really worked hard to figure out how we could do that and maintain the choice that we were offering before. So we created shopping lists. First, the people would come and they would be shopping off a list. We would essentially, it looks just like this. We have a list. Here's the one. Oops, I'll cover the name of the person. Compliance, Lisa, just ignore that I just did that. We would have a shopping list that has every single item we have in the pantry on the shopping list. Then with the lockdown, we really had a number of people that needed to go home. And luckily, in quotes, luckily for us, Marianne Bugme was one of those people who needed to be home initially in the lockdown process. Luckily, because she also is very committed to choice and she had the requisite technical skills to be able and wanted to continue to really do something for the food bank, even though she was at home. And so we were able to bring online shopping into the fold at that point. So Marianne looked at, essentially took our list that we were using and we worked with how could we make that an online option. We use Link to Feed, so we already have Google Chromebooks, and so for us, Google Forms was the easy thing to do. It matches our current technology. It was easy for us to get in and mess around with. It had a short turnaround time in terms of learning how to use it, so we were able to do that pretty quickly. We create our list weekly online. On our shopping list that we are working with customers who come to our door and are continuing to shop in person, we update that list every day that we're open. So there is some list management that goes on. Online, however, we are only updating that about once a week. So not everything hits the list, but I'll tell you how we resolve that in just a few minutes. We have it on our website's homepage. So when you come to our homepage, you have some options for selecting lists. We run 2 pantries here in Estacada. We have our community pantry, and we also participate in a school pantry. The school pantry, with school buildings being shut down, we are also serving out of our main pantry location, but we do maintain 2 separate lists. The school pantry, for those of you who run school pantries or may not know, is not eligible. There's no income requirement, so they're not eligible for TFAP foods and USDA foods. So we do keep those lists separate. So when you come to our homepage, you have an option to choose the regular shopping list or the school pantry shopping list. Our online form asks some basic questions. So we collect those basic data elements because we use Link to Feed that would allow us to register the visit in Link to Feed. Thank you, Allie. So we ask for their name, their first and last name. We ask for their birth date as a separate data point so we can cross-check not everything, as it's like with anything, there's human error involved. So people don't always enter their names properly or their birth date properly. So it just gives us that data piece to cross check. So if we can't find them in Link to Feed under their name, we might be able to choose their birth date. Just in case they are a new customer, we also ask them to provide us the number of adults and number of children. So in Link to Feed, you can enter an anonymous visit, and we want to be able to have the information we need to be able to do that. Then we ask them about food allergies. We ask that right at the top so that if we are, since they're not coming in to shop for themselves, they don't get the advantage of looking at and reading labels. So we put that allergy information right at the top. And usually then what will happen at the back end of receiving one of these, one of us pantry leads will be printing these. So there is paper waste, put that in your column. But we will be printing that, and we'll usually circle that allergy so that it's very clear to the person who's going to be doing the shopping that they should be looking out for those allergy items. The next question, if you pause right there for a second, Allie, this is one advantage we have found in the online shopping system because the Google Forms is so flexible and because we're changing it frequently, it has allowed us to throw in some poll information. So for example, right now we're beginning to think about having customers come back into the pantry and shop, and we are asking questions here about what do customers want? Do they want to shop in person? Do they want to continue to shop online? Other questions that we have asked throughout the period is whether or not, actually we still have it here, whether or not they're getting enough food. As we moved into the pandemic, we had asked people to come less frequently in order to manage some social distancing. Part of the reason we wanted to provide the online shopping as well was to be able to allow the distancing and not have everyone congregating and waiting in lines at the front of the pantry. I'm just gonna hang on one second. Sorry, there's a lot of repacking of peas going on behind me. Apologize. So where was I? Anyway, it allows us to also ask some questions and poll customers or survey customers on different items that we are interested in, whether they're getting enough food, whether they're coming enough visits. Let's say someone tells us they're not getting enough food, then we have their phone number also that we've asked on this list. That would trigger a phone call from, again, one of the pantry leads to ensure to have that personal conversation with someone that they could come more frequently. You know, what were the factors that were involved in that so that we could begin to problem solve that with households. Our food supply changes all the time and certainly changes more than weekly. So one of the things that we do on an ongoing basis, people will select the items they want off the shopping list. Then we have a whiteboard that we write what we call extras on, which is not the extras you're seeing on your screen right now, but things that didn't make the list. So for example, we printed the list on Tuesday. We didn't have any eggs, but we had a local farmer who brought us dozens and dozens of eggs. So on our whiteboard, we'll write backyard eggs. And then when people come to the door to receive their groceries, they have an opportunity to look at that whiteboard and tell us any of the things they want off the list. So they're really getting an opportunity to select everything that's in the pantry, even though it might not have made the official list at that particular time. Marianne, anything we should add in here yet?
Sure. I wanted to just mention that we also want our customers to have the most choice possible. So I do try to edit that list, even sometimes more frequently than once a week. And when I can do that, and then they can let us know what they need. The other thing that I wanted to say about using Google Forms is that it is very adaptable. And the nifty thing is when I add oatmeal to the list, I don't actually have to re-upload that to our website. So in a technical aspect, it's wonderful. It interfaces with our website without me having to create a new link each time I add a new item on the grocery list, re-upload it. It does it all automatically. It just, they talk together. So that's a really nifty thing using that Google form. So that's all I'd add at this point. Thanks, Deborah.
Thanks. All right. Allie, if you don't mind the next slide. In terms of compliance and reporting issues, initially, I will be honest, and this is on our next slide too, it's not been a perfect system, as all of us have had to adapt and change rapidly throughout this whole last year. For a long time, we had completely forgotten that we really should be asking people about the TFAP income guidelines. So once we finally realized that, it is now posted on our website as the chart. And then one of the questions on the online form is for shoppers. It refers people to look at the chart and for them to indicate using one of the radio buttons, either yes or no, they meet the income guidelines. So that's how we have managed that piece. I already talked about the data elements that we collect, which allows us to ensure that we can put the information into link to feed, which has been really nice. And then we do collect their phone number. This is one of the things we changed actually just recently in about the last, I would say, 6 to 8 weeks. We were having a lot of no-shows. You know, we're in a rural area, which does not have great transportation. So if you don't have a vehicle, and many of our customers do not, you're really reliant on someone else to get here. So what initially, when we were doing this for the whole first 6 to 7, 8 months, we would print the form, we would receive the application or the shopping list, we would print it, we would fill everything on the list except for the fridge and freezer items. And then we had a waiting area or a staging area in the back of the pantry where we would hold those items. Then when the customer came to pick up their groceries, we would have them look at the extras list, so the items that had not made the shopping list, and then we would get those items plus their fridge or freezer stuff. So there was still a little bit of a wait as we packed their fridge and freezer, but they weren't waiting for the entire packing of the boxes for their groceries. Recently, we would call them only if they hadn't come to pick up their groceries. So we had the phone call at the end of the process. And then we were running into situations where we were having some food waste. People weren't able to get here. There's a lot of, it's a lot more labor intensive packing groceries in this way than to let people shop on their own. So it was just all around, it was beginning to be a bit burdensome, and there was food waste involved, which we never like to see. So we just simply changed the phone call to the start of the process. So now we print the form, we call, once we have it, we ask them when they want to come pick up their groceries. So we're essentially making an appointment for them to pick up their groceries, and then we pack the groceries once. There's no more staging, there's no more, and this has really helped us resolve all of that problem. I think we've had one no-show since. So a simple thing, took us 8 months to think of it, but that's the nature of this past year. All right, if you don't mind, Allie, the next slide. Like I said, it's not perfect. I just went, we have evolved and continued to look at and evaluate things that have happened over time. We notice a problem and then we try to figure out how to resolve that on the fly. I think it's a pretty good system right now. Like Marianne said, it's pretty easy to maintain electronically. And we are having much less no-show. We just started polling people about returning to shop inside, and there's a pretty overwhelming so far, pretty overwhelming number of people who are currently shopping online who want to maintain that option. So I think we probably will be maintaining that option as long as we have the volunteers to do it. And we'll see where it takes us from here. It's been pretty, in terms of distancing, it's been pretty great, I think, to be able to not have people waiting. It's one more element of being able to shop like anyone else can shop. So it's been pretty great, I think, overall. I'm wondering if there are any questions.
We've had a couple in the chat. Question from Paul, do you also deliver groceries for clients who can't make it to you?
We do not. Well, really, the answer is yes and no. We do not formally deliver groceries. During the pandemic, one thing that we have done is collaborate with our senior residences here in town. So we have 2 apartment complexes that are all seniors, and we have also collaborated with our group in town that provides Meals on Wheels. And through that avenue, through those 3 different locations, we are delivering to seniors. We are essentially providing the groceries and packing the groceries, and in some cases delivering just to the doors of those facilities. In other cases, the Meals on Wheels drivers who already have all of their record checking and all of that sort of thing, they are delivering groceries direct to people's homes. And we'd love to send you a PDF of our form. And I don't know if that's, Marianne, my technical expert, I don't know if that's something you could post into the chat or not.
I think I can manage to create a PDF and send that. I don't know if I can put that in the chat, but I'll try that right now.
Thank you. And if not, we'll make sure it gets to one of the OFB people and they can share it forward.
Okay. Another question from Maddie was, how many people are you currently serving on average each week?
Yeah, that's a great question. We are a small rural area, so we're not seeing some of the numbers probably that some of you in the metro area are seeing. We are probably serving right now, and it's been really slow. I don't know if it's been slow for the rest of you, but since this last stimulus, our numbers have been really down in the last couple of weeks. But we're serving about 500 households in a month still. So what's that, 100 and little less than 150 in a week.
I'm going to add, did you see that when you opened up online, do you feel like that increased? Did that option bring more people or new people, or sort of maintain your current client base and just moved more online?
It's been really fluid throughout the whole pandemic. I mean, initially, we, like many of you, I'm sure, saw many, many more customers that we had never seen before. And that once the stimulus and the SNAP increases began to get going, a lot of the families that we were seeing new were able to meet their needs in other avenues. So right now, I would say probably a higher proportion of new people to us since the pandemic are choosing to shop online because they tend to be a little younger. They tend to have a little more technology access. Probably they have access because of the school programs to ensure that all the households have internet access. So this is not, and I don't know if I failed to say this, this is not our only option. People can shop online as a choice. They can also still come to us and talk with us at the front door and give us their list and their items in person. We have a couple people who can't wear masks, so they will call in their order and we'll read through the list with them on the phone. So we're really trying to work with people however it works best for them. Yeah, and Paul, that was the question. Yeah, we definitely have people who can't order online, which is why it's not our only option for people. How do we handle inventory control? This is our ongoing thing, partly with our extras board. So often it's a matter of we have something that didn't make the list. And so people get a chance to choose that. And then we just let people know from the beginning, and on our online form, it's actually printed out as part of the form. Just like you would have a statement at Fred Meyer's, we might not have it by the time you get here. This is our best look at what we have right now. If we don't have it, we'll either substitute or we'll ask them when they arrive what they want to do about it. So we just kind of give a blanket statement about that on our form itself. Any other questions? Or Marianne, anything I'm leaving out?
I think you covered it really well, Deborah. And just in response to Paul, I can't seem to create a PDF and link it into the chat box, but if you want to go ahead and share an email address with us, we'll be glad to share that with you that way.
Sure, or maybe we can share it via email to you, Courtney. Would that work? And you can send it out, and that way anyone can have it who wants it. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, we could also potentially link it in our Oregon Food Bank Partner Agency Portal's website to plug that to everyone in the group. A great resource for partner agencies.
Sure. All right, so we'll make sure it gets to you, OFB, and then do with it what you will. It is
Thank
open for sharing.
Looks like we had one other question about volunteer time and kind of how much time this takes, maybe as opposed to other ways of doing things.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot. And it's before, I mean, imagine that you are one volunteer, you're probably doing an entire grocery shop for up to 10 people, 10 households a day that you're working with us. So the physical burden of it on volunteers, I might be projecting, but the physical burden I think is much higher on volunteers than letting customers come in and shop on their own, for sure. We're open 3 days a week. We reduced our hours on each day that we're open, but opened a third day during the pandemic, again, to try to help spread people out a little bit and just manage our own stamina as well as volunteers. Like many of you, we lost, oh gosh, 2/3 of our volunteers straight away with the lockdown. I'm sure, as with many of you, our volunteers are primarily retired or maybe have a disability of their own, so tend to be in a higher risk category. So it's been a lot for sure. And I think for most of us, it's been well worth it, and we're looking forward to being able to welcome people back inside as well.
I see another question from Paul asking whether we have folks who are not able to use our online due to lack of computer and or reading skills, and surely we do. It requires a smartphone or a computer to be able to place an order with our online, basically a click list type of a system. And so we have that other option where people can come to our door and just interact with us with our handwritten list that Deborah showed early on in the discussion today. So they can place that order in person and then wait 10 or 15 minutes for our volunteer to pack up those boxes for them and come get them at our back door. So we have that other option in place. And really, it's probably the same amount of time to pack an order, whether it's taken at the front door versus the online. So for volunteer number of minutes per household packing of an order, that would be I think a lot of other agencies are probably doing that as well. They're customizing an order, whether it be online or in person. And that is definitely taking extra time, as Deborah says, for volunteers. So requiring more volunteers.
Yeah. And Paul, another question you asked there was about our volunteer shifts. We've reduced to being open for about 4-hour stretches at a time during the pandemic. Some of our volunteers come in and work, just 1 or 2 hours of that. Some of them work the whole 4 hours. So it really is dependent on what people feel comfortable doing. I'd say the bulk of our volunteers are working the entire 4 hours that we're open. On the link to feed question there, we again try to collect the data elements that we need. So once the online order has been picked up, then it comes to whoever the pantry supervisor or the lead is for that day as the entire order. And then we enter it based on the paper form. So we're able to get it in that way. So we don't enter their visit until they've actually collected their groceries. That's how we do it here.
Great. Thank you, Deborah and Marianne.
Yeah, thanks
great.
for asking us. I'm looking forward to hearing from Open Bible.
Yeah. I will turn over to Erin or Betty, who's going to kick us off.
Well, I think it's going to be me because Betty's online.
No, it's going to be me, son of mine.
Okay, go ahead.
I forgot about my mute button. Hi, my name is Betty Brown from Portland Open Bible Community Pantry, and thank you. I love that presentation. Love hearing what everyone's been doing as we all work very hard at tackling what the virus has provided for us to do. So yes, like most of you, we moved to be outside last year about this time. Everything was being done outside as opposed to in the gym. We have a huge gym where we've been doing. We've always kind of done where people just went around and picked what they wanted. We've never had food boxes before at all. We've basically Oregon Food Bank trained us from the beginning. And so we've always had a grocery style type of pantry. So we moved everything outside in the summer, in the spring, summertime, everybody was doing the same thing, but I'm a nurse by trade, been a nurse all my life. And was really did a lot of studying on the pandemic and just knew that winter was coming. This is basically what triggered us to do what we did with the online ordering. Was my background as a nurse, influenza, whether it's influenza, COVID-19, or any other communicable disease now, is what I think COVID-19 has basically made us very sensitive to. And so I kept thinking there's got to be a way for us to continue to have choice for people. One of the things that's very, I think, unique about our particular pantry is the number of multiple ethnic communities that we see. And so we have a huge Chinese community, a huge Russian community. Of course, we have, tons of African Americans, tons of homeless individuals that all come to our pantry. We love it. It's exciting. Feels like Chicago O'Hare every time we're open. And so we love all that. And so how do we continue to have that, give people that sense of dignity? I personally believe being able to choose what you want for your family provides you a lot of dignity, self-respect, that thing that happens when you can actually go shop. And so I turned to my son, who you see right there, Aaron Brown, not Felicia Brown, that's his wife's name, Aaron Brown right there. And I said to him, because I knew it was going to get cold, what are we going to do to facilitate people being able to still have choice? But because we have a manager of New Seasons on our board, he looked at our gym and says, yeah, this is how many people you can have in the gym at a time. And we knew people would be standing outside, and our primary objective was communicable diseases and people standing outside freezing to death in the cold. Didn't want to see that, especially for the amount of people that come to our pantry that are the elderly. Way over 50-60% of the people that we see are elderly. So with that, I turned to Aaron and says, okay, Aaron, what can we do to make it the same pantry? And Aaron, you can take it from here.
Okay, so hello everybody, I'm Aaron Brown, and me and my friend Jesse, who's also on the call, we kind of head up the drive-through. And so basically, because we were doing COVID education originally through a grant. And so one of the things when COVID kind of kicked in, we had to figure out how to socially distance people. But then I looked across our population of people and noticed I had about 5 different languages that I would have to tell people to socially distance from. So my mom brought up the concept of doing an online ordering system. And so me and my friend Jesse came up with an overall program, one, to help people, because we know that it's getting cold, and because we have so many people outside, a lot of them kind of tend to huddle up together in places where the rain isn't coming down. So we decided we could pretty much, if we have it so they could drive through, we could split up our numbers and keep people socially distanced. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you guys a video about what our standard overall pantry looks like for somebody who orders online. And when a couple questions that I know some people are going to ask is that we use about 8 to 10 people for our whole system that's ordering online, the people that are assembling the boxes, the people that are distributing the boxes. And so we've got to see our numbers increase. Probably we're running about 80 to 100 cars a week, and it's increased to maybe like 300 to 500 individuals from families a week. And yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and can I screen share right now, Courtney?
Yeah, we gave you sharing privileges
Okay.
at the green at the bottom there.
Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and start this video up. Hello everyone. So this is the main page for our ordering system. When someone comes to our website online, they can choose one of 5 languages, which are English, Spanish, Cantonese, Russian, and Vietnamese. So after the person ordering selects their language, the whole website will shift and be translated into whatever language they chose. At the bottom of the page, it gives the person who orders 5 basic instructions of what you need to have with you when you arrive on site, as well as a map of our property and how to navigate their way through the drive-thru. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back to the top of the page and choose my language as English, and then it's going to lead me right to my order form. So on our pre-order form, we ask all the basic questions like your name, phone number, email, and date of birth. We also made sure to ask the individual for their link to feed number so we could put it in the system later. And so next we're going to ask the family size, and we do that because we need to know how much food to actually put in their box. So we get anything from a 2-person family to a 10-person family. So it's good to know the actual number to prepare for. Okay, so I'm going to select that I have 5 people in my family. Next, it's going to ask me if this is my first order or not. And for right now, I'm going to say no. They're going to ask me my order pickup date. I'm going to keep that on Tuesday. Then basically what it is just going through the actual menu, and it's broke down different sections. So for produce, I'm going to pick mixed produce and potatoes. For my dry and canned goods, I'm going to get white bread, rice, peanut butter, and cooking oil. And then I'm going to scroll down to my meat section, and I'm going to select for my meat, let's go with chicken. And then it asks me if chicken isn't available, can we substitute it for another one of our choices? And I'll put yes. And I do this because we don't always know what kind of meat we're going to get for that week. So sometimes if we don't have chicken, we give people the option to get something else. And so next we'll head over to the dairy section. And so I'll go with milk, eggs, and dairy-free milk. And then the last extra or kind of miscellaneous area, I'll go with extra goodies and dog food. And then I'm going to scroll down to the bottom of the page, and it's going to give me those 5 steps that I went over earlier. And it's also going to give me the map. And then I'm going to press submit, and my order will be completed. Okay, so now that we've got to our confirmation page, we give a couple disclaimers, one of them being that all items are subject to availability. Your exact pantry box may differ from your selection above. And so what it's pretty much saying is that we didn't necessarily want to go in and change our menu every single week. And so we ended up just telling people that the items that they select are going to be based on availability, based on the foods that we get for that week. Meaning, if it's in the box that you pick up, it's because it was available and you chose it. And if it's not, it's because we didn't have it for that week. And then the other one is, due to safety regulations, we are unable to accept items once they are in your vehicle. So we always make sure to tape up our boxes so people don't necessarily bring stuff back. Okay, now that the order is actually complete, the system that we use automatically sends us 2 confirmation emails giving us the information of the person who just made the order. So as you can see, all the stuff that Betty actually clicked on is now in email form and is broken down into different sections. The second email we receive is just the order broken down into 4 sections: produce, dairy, meat, canned and dried goods. And what we do then is print off this order form and cut it into 4 sections to use as labels on the actual boxes. Now you might be thinking, how do we process an order in another language if our staff doesn't necessarily speak or read that language? Well, what we do is translate all of the selected items in English right next to the actual language that the person ordered in. Here are some examples of what it looks like.
The program that we use to create the online order form is through a company called Woofu, which is great because it keeps a permanent log of every single order that's been made through our system. Okay, so here's what our form actually looks like. As you can see, we have 5 forms that cater to the 5 languages that we serve. Starting from the top, there is a Vietnamese, Russian, Cantonese, Spanish, and English form. And one of the great things about Woofu is I can go back and look at anybody's order in any single language from any time. For example, I can click on Betty's name and look at everything that she ordered just today, just to be sure. But the main reason I go to Woofu is to get the names and the information from the people that ordered and transfer the data into a Google Sheets document that I share with everybody on my team. So what I'm going to do is copy some of Betty's basic info and transfer it into a Google Sheet document for my whole drive-through team that's on site to see. So now that I have all of Betty's information, I'm going to simply go into Google Sheets and paste her name in. And then after I have her name pasted in and all of her info in there, all I'm going to do is look at it. And as you can see from left to right, I got her first name, last name, phone number, email, her link to feed number, her birthday, whether or not it's her first time, and her pickup date. Now, one of the most important things we learned at the pantry is that when we had so many different people from so many different cultures, speaking so many different languages, when they arrived, we wouldn't always be able to pronounce their name 100% accurately. So what we did is we put their name in the Google Sheets and assigned them a number like you can see here. Now Betty Brown's in here, but she's also the number 2. And that's really important here because you're gonna see number 2 on all her boxes. Check it out. Okay guys, now that I've officially, whoa. Hold up. This wasn't supposed to happen. This isn't part of my video. Hold up.
No worries.
Hold up.
That's the year of surprises right there.
Hold up. I think I've lost control of my thing, Courtney.
Uh-oh.
Okay, hold up.
You're good.
While he's doing whatever it is that he's doing, did you notice that my birth date was on there? Now everybody knows how old I am. Only my son would broadcast my birth date online. And yes, thank you for that, son. I loved it.
I wondered that, Betty.
You wonder. While he's also doing that, I do want to thank Oregon Food Bank because we would not even be able to do this if it wasn't that I had the idea. I called Courtney and I said, Courtney, here's the idea. And I said, I think I need some money. And Courtney braced herself. How much do you want? But the network support funds that were made available to us through Oregon Food Bank really was the reason we were able to really kick this thing off. We really wanted to do it well. And yeah, it takes money. It just really, really takes money. And what you guys were able to support us with is what got us really kick the whole process forward. So thank you, Oregon Food Bank, for that.
And I will say it was a rapid response grant for the 5,000 or less amount. So those are approved on a rolling basis. That's not one that has to be considered by our committee. So if this is a direction you want to go in, and we'll have more info on how to connect you with Jesse, who helped develop all of this, but it was a pretty easy rapid response grant, and an easy yes, I think, for us. So just wanted to share that it wasn't because we love Open Bible and they do great work, but this would be available to all partners. Again, it would be your one grant for the fiscal year. Remember that's how network support funds work. And as an equipment grant, if you wanted to apply for the capacity building grant, which is the $10,000, up to $10,000 and serves above and beyond, and you could roll it into a whole kind of programming thing, you could do that as well. And Kelsey noted, thank you, in our chat that our last round for the fiscal year of capacity building grants are due May 10th, so you have about 4 weeks to get that in. Oops, let's get Aaron back. So check the portal there if you're thinking about doing that for the fiscal year. And July 1, everything rolls over and starts fresh for the fiscal year. How's it looking, Aaron? And you're muted.
All right, sorry about that brief intermission, but hopefully you got your snacks and we'll get back into it.
Awesome, thank you.
Guys, click share screen again. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. Gonna just fast forward a little bit. Okay, here we go. Man, this thing is
Boxes. Check
okay,
it
here we
out.
go.
Okay, guys, now that I've officially printed off Betty's order, I'm going to take it down to our volunteers so they could start assembling her box. Okay, now that the right food is in the right box with the right labels, you can see I have a produce box, a meat box, a canned and dried good box, and a dairy box. Now all we got to do is get them in their right spot and have them ready for pickup. Okay, now that Betty has officially arrived on site, she's going to make her way around the parking lot following that same map she saw on the website until she...
Come on. Courtney, do you have the thing on it on YouTube that I sent you?
I didn't get the links. I don't know if it didn't come through. Let me check my junk mail again.
Sorry about this.
No. Yeah, it doesn't look like it came through to me.
All right.
So the other side of the parking lot where a drive-in worker will be waiting for her.
All right, this is what I'm gonna do. So I'm gonna put the link to the video in the chat box, and then can we open it up like that?
Yeah, we'll try that.
All right.
Allie, I'll let you be the tech person. Let's see.
Give me just a second.
Well, as he's doing that, let me warn you, my car is dirty. I didn't know I was going to be filmed that day, but that's all.
We are impressed. This is a great first-person view of it all. Questions before maybe that Betty can answer while Aaron's working on technology. I see. How much time does it take to maintain the online technology?
How much time does it take to maintain? Jesse, do you want to answer that one? It doesn't really take any time. I just want to say, after we did the original startup with Jesse from the money that we got from Oregon Food Bank, it's just kind of set. And so really, Aaron, so Jesse worked on it. People sign up for their food, and most likely Aaron or Jesse might be a better. Jesse, can you talk about that a little bit? This is Jesse Richardson, by the way.
Hey everybody, I'm Jesse. So in terms of like the initial setup of the actual back end of everything, it was really, maybe about a week or two to get the application set up initially. And then, we just worked with, Aaron and Betty to really make sure the menu was looking correct and really determining how often do we want to update that, and making sure it reflected what was most typical kind of in what the pantry was receiving. We did a lot of learning over the first couple of weeks of like how to set up perfectly for their specific pantry. But over the last maybe 6 or 7 weeks, we almost barely had to touch it at all. It's become a pretty hands-off process. So it's kind of a week or two setup of determining like, what do we want to list? How do we want to present that information? and then just keeping that optimized and updating it once a month maybe. And obviously there's fewer options depending on what the pantry might be receiving, but it's very easy to customize, and maybe only takes about a day to train a person to run the system.
And so right now, something that happens on a weekly basis, I have a daughter that just basically makes, because we collect emails and we do get different things from, whether it's from Oregon Food Bank or New Seasons Market, we do get different things. And so my daughter just makes a flyer and sends out a mass email to everyone that tells them, yeah, this week we're going to have these different things. We update the list accordingly. And that's basically, so there's really not much at all. It's not much work with that part of it. Are you ready, Erin? Does this mean it's ready?
I think Allie's going to play it for us.
Sound.
I don't know if I have to be unmuted to share something. Is it down now?
So what I was saying is that she's pretty much presenting her link to feed card and the information. And so what we do right here is that the person who meets up with Betty, we see that she's a number 2, and I relay the information to my team that, okay, number 2's here. And then Betty just parks in her car, and then we just go and get her food. And so you'll see, we'll go to 4 different spots, and then you'll see the number 2. So he's getting the dairy box right now, and he'll take it out and it'll be the number 2 on it. Then he'll get his meat box and then his canned produce box, all with the number 2 on it. And so usually we try to have it so cars are usually in and off our property probably in about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes. And that's where we try to keep our numbers down because our street's pretty heavily populated. And so, yeah, we make sure that as soon as they get there, we just yell out their numbers and then try to get them kind of safety and out of there as soon as possible. So Betty takes her order and she just backs up and goes. And then what they're going to show next is that after she actually leaves, we go back into that Google Sheet program, and then we mark Betty as being here, and we mark her in the color green, so the people doing the link to feed system later are able to see that Betty was there and present. So you can see that right here. So Betty just came. I just put her out in green like that, and then our computer people on site, you don't even have to be on site, goes and they put her information. You can see her link to feed number, and they put the information in like that.
Everyone who comes is, oh, go ahead, stats. Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so one of the cool things about the WooFoo system is that we track stats monthly. And so we could break it down into each section. We could technically break it down by language if you wanted to, but we could see, okay, the majority of people, 93% of our people are ordering, mixed produce. And then it goes and it breaks down into the 4 sections. This is the percentage of people that are ordering our dried canned goods and what they're wanting the most. So cooking oil is really popular and white bread, not so much. And then it just goes through all the other sections, as you can see. And then when it gets to the bottom of the page, we created a pie chart so we could see over a 30-day period what percentage of our population coming in are repeat orders, and then what population are new orders. So when it comes down and you see it, you'll see the red ones are new orders and the blue ones are repeat orders. And so through the WooFoo system and MailChimp, we're able to send people, because they put their email in the system, we give them weekly updates and weekly special orders that are coming through. And we could also see what percentage family size right here we're getting. So 18% of our population is a family size of 5 or more, and it just breaks down all the way like that. And so then it just goes back to the original steps that I showed you. We just go through 4 steps. It's just tracking the orders online, assembling the boxes, distributing the boxes, and inputting the names and the link to feed. And so like I said, for all this, I mean, it requires about 8 to 10 people. And me and that guy you saw right there, we go through about maybe like 60 to 70 boxes each Tuesday. And we get it all done within an hour and a half. So it's a really good system to use and it's really efficient. So are these the questions they have? So I'll just start from the top. How many people do you serve per week this way? It started out, I mean, we really increased our numbers through email, and because of us just kind of spreading the words, because we're in a heavy populated area, word kind of spreads by word of mouth, I guess. So we started out with 9 people our first week, and we're running about 80 to 100 cars each week. So 80 to 100 families, and the families range from anything from 2 to 10 people in a family. And so it equals about 300 to 400 individuals a week served. For how many volunteers and how long does it take to fulfill these boxes? All the computer stuff that you saw of me going to the Wufu system and the Google Sheets, that takes me about 15 to 20 minutes to put maybe 80 orders in there. And then to actually assemble the boxes, our team of about 5 to 10 people, it takes them about 1.5 hours to 2 hours to do around 60 to 70 to 80 boxes. And for the actual on-site stuff, when they actually pull up, each car is there for about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes through just yelling out people's numbers. And are there other options for access? What's the percentage of people that order ahead versus walk up? It keeps on changing. I think I think we're about even right now. I think we're seeing about 80 people a week through drive up and maybe 120 to 150 people a week through walk up. But it's really cool. The cool thing about the drive up is that it serves a lot of the people, a lot of the disabled community. So for example, I have a lot of the Cantonese and some of the Spanish people will be grandparents or people maybe in their 60s and 70s. And as we all know, groceries can be really heavy. And so, for example, yesterday I had a woman who was disabled and she pulled up and said she needs food, but she's disabled. So I just had her pull up and I signed her into the Link to Feed program and I took her order right there and just loaded up her car. So she was good to go. So she didn't have to wait in line at all. And so as we're doing the drive-through, there's also people when they get there, they also have the option to do walk up if they want to. And so, yeah, the numbers have been increasing more and more each week. And so it says, how are we promoting this? So in the system that we have an email system. So in SurveyMonkey, we could break things down by the language. So we'll send out a Vietnamese update every single week, a Cantonese update every single Monday, Russian, English, and Spanish. And so we'll talk about certain items. We'll talk about how you could order now. And we just make it a really easy process. All you got to do is have this website and anybody can do it. And so one of the cool things in our community, a lot of our communities are really, really tight knit. So our Spanish community has tripled over the last, like, I would say month or so, because word just kind of got spread internally. And then how did we incorporate Link to Feed? When you saw the Google Sheet, we have a certain section that has a Link to Feed number in there. And I also have in there, if they don't put their Link to Feed number in the actual section, but they've been there before, which a couple people do every now and then, they'll just put a 0 where Link to Feed is. We can still look up their birth date and their name ahead of time to make sure that they're in the program. And I just fill in their actual Link to Feed number, which makes it easier. So when Kathleen goes and checks the names back in, all she has to do is see the name, their Link to Feed number, check them in, and then you see their name kind of in green. And then after she does it, she puts the name in actual blue and it shows that this person's been officially checked in. And then we just do a new thing. We just do a new sheet every single week. So,
but of course, there's going to be the people who do sign up that are new to the pantry and new to pantries, period. They don't have a Link to Feed number. So with what we do, you can go ahead and sign up. When you get to the pantry though, you are asked to park and we admit you into Link to Feed. And so they come in, we usually have a couple of people doing the computer, and Aaron knows the computer, and just about a lot of our volunteers at this point know the computer and how to sign somebody up into Link to Feed. We just personally think it's really important that everybody that comes to our pantry is into Link to Feed. So that they come in, they get totally admitted into Link to Feed, they get their Link to Feed number, and it's explained to them, next time you do the drive-through, this is this, you need to, use that number, and people do. I think that people order. We are seeing it's just been interesting watching the data, and our online system is increasing more and more every day. I think one of the things that Erin said, and I just want to say again, because I think it's so important, the disabled. We are seeing so many disabled people come that like have never come before, which totally makes me very excited. Talk to them on the phone. I have a car, can't come, show them how to do it online. Now they can just drive up. It's really opened up the ability for people who are not able to stand in line, who are not able to walk, who did not have access to come to a pantry before because of their disabilities, but they have a car, they have a truck, they can pull up. And that's been one of the most exciting things for me. And because I am from Costa Rica, and I knew there was a lot of Hispanics around our area, but we did not see the numbers I thought we should be seeing in our Hispanic community coming to our pantry. Boom, it's totally blown it away. And that is the ethnicity that has grown the most in the online program is the Spanish community. And I think that's really exciting, like what Erin said, and I'm trying to do this really fast, but like what Erin said, the immigrant communities are very, very connected. Even, we do Facebook and stuff, but they're incredibly connected. I know every Costa Rican a mile from around me. That's just the way it is. And so advertisement is done by word of mouth. Okay, go ahead, guys.
Yeah, and one thing that I would add just to kind of the learning that we had with the system was that as you noticed on that first screen shown in the part one, is we isolated those pickup dates just 2 days a week, Tuesday afternoons and Thursday mornings. That allowed us to really make sure that it was still a very efficient system. We're taking orders on all those off days, and then the day before we're prepping everything. It's nice because after the initial setup, the instructions are very, very clear for volunteers. They get this, single sticker, it goes on the box. They know exactly what's supposed to go in it. And so for any volunteer who's hopping into this new, who maybe doesn't have the full understanding of all the moving parts, it's still very simple for them to come in and, jump in and help the fulfillment process. And then for the actual customers who are coming up, we have, at least 4 points where we're explaining them the instructions. There's the initial page, there's on the form the instructions. On the confirmation page, they're also sent a confirmation email, which is also translated into their language. And then as part of the whole Wufoo system and the mail system we're using called MailChimp, we're also able to send them email reminders. So, maybe on Tuesday morning or on Monday night, we can send, hey, don't forget your food box is available for pickup tomorrow at 5 p.m. So there's lots of kind of like individual touch points, and most of them are very, very automated once it's been set up. So it's clear to customers. They get lots of instructions consistently. It's also very simple for the volunteers. So really, you only need 1 or 2 people. Someone like Erin, and then someone on the ground who's entering the link to feed numbers to really be minding the kind of general operation, and everything else becomes very fluid and very simple. And the one other thing I'd mention too is all of this, of course, is completely customizable. So you can update the forms as much as you'd like, daily or weekly. The PDF forms that we generate and turn into stickers are also fully customizable. It's completely fed by Wufoo. So if you update something on Wufoo, it's going to show up on the PDF form. It doesn't require a bunch of extra steps. So if you want to be very customized, you can. And at the same time, if you want to have it kind of simplified like we do with the mixed produce, you can also have general options where you kind of just give the people whatever you might have at the time. So it can be as in-depth and as customized as you like, or still very hands-off and kind of generalized. And I see that we got some more questions in here too. Well, it looks like Erin, you're already answering them. Perfect. But yeah, I think, the only thing else I'd point out is that this does use a handful of different things. We're using Wufoo to capture the survey data. We're using MailChimp to send them reminders and those weekly kind of advertisements to let people know what new stuff we have in stock. And then we're using a system called FormStack to generate the 4x4 PDF labels. So there's a couple of moving parts, but again, once you initially set it up, it doesn't necessarily require, going into 2 of those 3 if you don't want to. And, it's been, just from kind of my view from a data perspective, it's been just crazy the amount of engagement that we're seeing. we're seeing 30–40% of people open up emails, and 20% of those people going and clicking and then submitting another entry for a food box. So for people who might be a little bit more hesitant, Betty talked a lot about just the system kind of giving people the dignity of being able to go in and choose and drive up and kind of feel like they're in a safe, secure place. It really encourages those folks to, hey, don't not sign up for a food box because you're worried about going to a food pantry. It's an easy electronic way to do it. We can stay in touch with you, and you're going to get a lot of touches along the way that make it very simple for you to do. So it's been incredible just from a an engagement perspective. It's maybe 8 times more engaging than most other types of emails you might be sending as a marketer. So lots of high engagement, and I think, Paul, you mentioned earlier, do you have folks who are a little bit uncomfortable? And this whole system's completely secure. This data is being stored by a massive survey company, SurveyMonkey, who's very secure. The data on Aaron's Google Sheet is only shared with qualified personnel at the food pantry, and it's no more information that they're going to need to provide to sign up to Link to Feed anyways. So it's a very generally a pretty low ask for most folks.
I think that the one thing I want to say is that I don't know that COVID is going to go away anytime soon. We've had just recently, last week, we had another huge surge of positive cases. And so I think that our overall, not only the country, but our community is very, very focused on safety. And this has just, I believe, opened up the world to so many people. We have homeless groups coming to us at this point, people who really work with the homeless and asking us, how can we participate in this? I did a walkthrough with one of them recently. And so, yeah, I think it's exciting to be able to provide people what they need at a time where so many people are just are so uncertain about their future. Any other questions?
One thing I'll just share, I had a conversation with the Open Bible crew kind of learning about this early on and as things got rolling, and had a conversation with Jesse specifically. He's the one who helped set up these systems, the WUFU and the form stack. And he is open when willing and happy to work with other partner agencies to set up something like this as well. If part of your grant that you apply for would include maybe his time to help with setup, to purchase some of these other systems. So he is definitely available to help folks get this going, and a little tech support along the way. So it's not just specifically for like Open Bible and they're telling you this and you have to figure it out on your own. So we don't want to recreate the wheel here, but so a big thank you to Jesse, and we'll figure out a way to share like his contact information if people are interested, and get you all connected. Other questions?
I think that the other thing I just want to say, because I do represent, the Hispanic community, I think the one thing I want to say about the whole system is that I loved the way it provided the Russian community. The Russian, the Russian grandma is working with her 20-year-old granddaughter, and she's choosing her own food. The same thing is happening in the Spanish community. Just really thinking about how diverse Portland is, and it continues to become more and more diverse. I think that providing immigrants this tool is a gift that we are very grateful to be able to give them.
Well said, thank you. And yes, thank you. Round of applause for Deborah and Marianne and Betty and Aaron and Jesse. Thank you all so much for sharing your time and your video skills. I'm super impressed with the video, even if we had some technical difficulties. But thank you all, and everyone else, if you have, again, we're going to share this out. Like Carolina said, we'll put it on our partner support page with all the info so folks can come back. But please feel free to reach out to your OFB team if you've got other questions or want to learn more about how to incorporate online ordering into your system. But we have a few more minutes left. Want to open it up? Are there other questions, Oregon Food Bank or not, questions that you're interested in asking or asking of your colleagues here on the call? All right, we'll leave it open, but happy Friday, everyone. Enjoy your weekend. Go enjoy the sun. We'll see you all again soon, but we'll stay on if folks want to ask questions too. But thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Courtney.
Thanks, Jesse.
Bye.
Bye.